What is up guys, it's Jordan here and welcome back to a brand new video. And I am sorry that I haven't been uploading a lot lately. Just very quickly I want to let you guys know that I'm not disappearing anywhere. I just had a very busy week with work. I've been working crazy hours and had practically no time to myself, let alone to get some videos sorted. So I am sorry about that. But I am back today and we're going to be talking about the Ghost War PvP mode coming out for Wildlands very soon and currently in open beta. This video is kind of going to be like a first impression / review. As some of you may know, I have touched upon Wildlands before on my channel. It's a game that I do really enjoy. I still play it sometimes now, and I have actually been looking forward to the PvP mode for quite some time, like many of us, because Ubisoft have been taking their sweet damn time with releasing this PvP mode. But I have finally got my hands on the game, and I'm going to be talking about the things that I do like, things I don't like, and some improvements that could be made. So, now there are a few bugs. Beta will be beta is very applicable with this particular version of the beta. That's a lot of beta in one sentence. But yeah, it is definitely buggy, and I'm going to get onto all of that in the second part of this video because I want to kick it off by praising it because it is definitely a very, very enjoyable game mode. I feel like starting off with the praise is applicable because this is still in a beta, so I think it would be very unfair to charge into the issues with it because betas are for testing. It is not finished yet, so it would be completely unfair to rip into it about the things that I have experienced that are negative. So hopping into the positives, the first thing that everyone should already know is that it plays exactly like you would expect it to from Wildlands. Wildlands is already a very solid shooter. The sniping particularly is fantastic, and that translates so well into PvP gameplay. It's honestly so much fun. It's actually the most fun I've had in a third-person shooter in terms of multiplayer for quite a while actually, and that's saying a lot bearing in mind the bugs that it has got going for it with the beta. But of course I just wanted to very quickly touch upon it. Yes, it's still just as good. It still feels just as smooth, but that is a point that everyone already knew because most people have played Wildlands, but I felt like I had to just pop it in there at the beginning of the video. The next positives are there are tons of classes to choose from, each with very unique playstyles, perks, weapons, and you can fully customize all of these as well in terms of appearance of the character, the weapons, the gunsmith is in it, the character smith, everything that you would want in terms of customization is in this mode, and I absolutely love the diversity of classes. When I first heard about classes, I was a bit unsure because one of the biggest things about Wildlands was the complete freedom of your character. You could build your character however you wanted, and I absolutely loved that. And when they said classes, I was a bit like, oh god, they're going to be doing this whole class thing again. But it is actually very well done, and there is tons of classes, so there is guaranteed to be at least one class that's going to fit your playstyle perfectly. And you've also got the recruit that's a little bit more flexible and customizable as well. The recruit kind of takes on the same role as in Siege, in where if you don't have a class, you play the recruit, but there is a little bit more flexibility with the recruit in terms of customization. In fact, all the gameplay that you're seeing right now is from the recruit because at the time of recording this, I didn't have any classes. I literally loaded up the game and recorded it. The gameplay you're seeing now is from, they're all my first games. Starting from the first game to the last one that I've played in the mode so far, you're seeing all of them so far. So that probably explains as well why I'm quite bad at times. I was playing with a pretty crappy sniper rifle. Excuses, I know, but it was actually a really crappy sniper rifle. It just didn't register shots sometimes. The next thing I want to talk about is the variation of the maps and the weather effects is totally awesome. Every map can be different in terms of the time of day, the weather, and it makes for some very interesting engagements. For instance, one of the first games I played, it was very foggy, and I was playing a sniper, which meant I had to really sort of adjust how I was going to think about playing the situation. Because when I first loaded up the game, I was like, I'm going to play a sniper, I'm going to sit on a mountain, and I'm just going to shoot people that come towards me. But because of the fog, I had to think to myself, okay, I actually can't see a lot, so I ended up actually trying to get behind the enemy lines a couple of times, which worked out, and getting a bit closer, and also relying more on my teammates to spot the enemies for me so that I could actually see them properly. So this is definitely a very interesting feat, and changing weather in a multiplayer game is something that I haven't seen that much of, especially in an FPS, sorry, not an FPS, a third-person shooter, and it is honestly really cool. The maps themselves are perfect in size. You've got just about enough space to be able to snipe from far distances, and you've also got plenty of room to move in and get into close quarters fights. Normally the two teams spawn very far out of the way on either side, and you've got some structures in the middle, which means it sort of benefits both playstyles, you know, long range, close range. So again, it reinforces the fact that you really can sort of play however you want, which is a really crucial thing when it came down to the PvP mode, is they had to keep that core essence of flexibility from the Wildlands single player mode. Now I don't think I've played all the maps yet, unfortunately, but the ones I have played I have no complaints with. They're all very good. They all look nice. nice. They're all from snippets of the actual Bolivia game world from the single player, and the Bolivia game world is absolutely awesome as it is. I mean, it's huge, so they've got plenty of space for creating new maps, which will be very interesting to see. Now, I'm only going to touch upon progression quite lightly because I haven't had enough time to fully get into it because I haven't played enough of it to unlock lots of different things, but from what I can see, it looks like it has a very good progression system in it. Going back to the classes for a minute, you've got plenty of classes to choose from, and you unlock them as you play the game, so you can look at a class that you really want, and then when you work towards it, you'll get that class. That's not to say that you can't use the weapons that that class might have. So the marksman, for instance, I haven't unlocked the marksman class, but I still have a sniper rifle, and I'm still able to snipe, but I'm looking forward to unlocking the marksman class and working towards it. That's a big thing about progression, is making sure that you're excited for something. Whatever's coming next, it has to be exciting, and as well as that, you've got tons of gadgets, attachments, and all sorts of things that you can unlock from the single player game. So for some it might be a bit strange because you kind of have to re-unlock certain things. I'm not sure how it's going to work when it actually launches. They might let you carry some of your stuff from single player across to multiplayer. I doubt it, but you never know. But as of right now, you've got all those attachments to re-unlock again, but obviously you're not going out into the world and finding them, so you haven't got to go and do that again, obviously, but you just play the game, you level up and you unlock things, and you've got different types of gadgets. You've got the drones, obviously, which you get off the start because it's a very crucial thing to use. But the point is, there's plenty of things to unlock and plenty of things to look forward to and get excited about when you're looking at the progression tree. I also forgot to mention, you do get skill points as well, and you've got different sort of perks and things that each class has. There are specific perks for different classes, so that's just another layer of unlockables and progression as you go through the classes. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about some of the issues that I've experienced with Wildlands. Now, there are a few bugs ranging from one game-breaking one that I had to a few just strange things and weird things that don't quite fit in or just look out of place. So the first major thing I noticed, and I've googled and found that other people had issues with as well, is that for some reason every now and again the game gets stuck in the menu screen. Not the menu screen of the main menu, but when you load into a game, it displays the map and sort of the players that are joining, and sometimes if people leave and join too much, even when you get a full 4v4 sort of game setup, it still freezes and won't load, and even when it does eventually load and works, it can take forever sometimes. So I found that lots of people were just leaving, and it did take me quite a while to get into a game actually because of that issue. Now do bear in mind, I am playing on Xbox One and not the PC version. I'll be playing on the PC version later today, and I'll have a look at that one as well, but definitely for the Xbox there are issues. I've also heard that with the PC version it doesn't like external hard drives, and I don't know much about that because I'm going to be installing it onto an external hard drive, so I'll find out again, but I have seen lots of forums about it not liking external hard drives, so do bear that in mind if you're planning on installing the beta. Another thing that I've noticed is sometimes the game just doesn't feel as smooth as it should. Now bear in mind again, if you're playing on PC, I'm sure it will be a lot better. There could be some optimization issues, but especially on the consoles, it doesn't feel as smooth as the normal game. Now the normal game feels absolutely fine when you play it. There's no frame rate issues at all, not that I've ever had, and while there's no major frame rate issues in the multiplayer, sometimes it just doesn't, it seems like there's more of like a lag than anything else, and you can't see your ping in game as far as I'm aware. I may be wrong, feel free to correct me if I am, but sometimes it just doesn't feel like it's quite in sync, and I'll get onto that a bit later regarding another point which I think could be related to that one. But just yeah, everything feels a bit delayed sometimes, especially when lots of things are happening at one time. It feels like the game can't always quite keep up with it, but again, it is beta, so I'm not going to say it as an outright negative and an issue. It's an issue right now, but hopefully it will be something that's resolved when they actually get around to releasing it. So the next thing I want to bring up is relating to the last one potentially. I'm not sure, but it feels like sometimes shots don't register, and that they have no sort of weight to them, like they don't do any damage. Now this is very ironic because Siege has got a serious problem with shots not being registered and all sorts of things. Maybe it's just a sheer coincidence, or Ubisoft servers are just renowned for being crap for all of their games. I don't know, but sometimes you'll see, maybe even some of the footage, you might see sometimes that I'll shoot people and like the tiniest bit of health will go down, or no health will go down at all, even though the hit mark thing pops up. And this is very like problematic when you're sniping, because if you miss a crucial headshot or it doesn't register, it could result in you getting killed. And if they plan to make this a more serious competitive game mode, it's going to really hurt it, the same way it did with Siege, and hopefully they learn from their mistakes with that one and they fix this if it's an issue that becomes widespread. But we'll have to wait and see for the final release. But if you do play it, keep an eye on the shots and the registering, and especially the damage that sometimes your shots do, because sometimes they just don't do any damage. Those are all the major issues that I've experienced so far. There are a couple of other little things that just seem weird and out of place. For instance, the ending scene when all four of the other team, the winning team, run away like towards the camera. There's just like no sound for some reason. It's really weird. There's no footstep sounds. There's no music. And I'm sure I sound petty right now, but it's just weird. You know, when you're playing it, and you're just like, huh, that's rather strange, and it kind of makes you think about it. When you're thinking about it, it then becomes a problem. But it's just little things like that that hopefully again will be fixed by the time the game comes out, because it just makes it not feel like a AAA title when it is a AAA title. Other things like sound can sometimes be a bit weird. I've noticed that when you get shot, sometimes there's just no sound effects for it. Like obviously, if a guy has a silencer, you're not going to hear the initial crack of the shot. But when a bullet hits someone, there's going to be some sort of sound, and normally there is. But especially when you're spectating, there's just no sound. And sure, you're spectating, so it's not a big deal. But again, it's just one of those things that kind of lowers the quality bar of the whole game when you're watching these things, and you're just like, that looks out of place for a game of this caliber and this title, especially Ghost Recon, because you know it's a very renowned game and a very popular game at that. So little things like that can definitely pull you out of the game with the immersion, and it just seems a bit weird. Once again, it is beta, and I'm sure it will be fixed. The final thing I want to bring up, or the final set of points, is just a few things that I think could be improved. They're not issues necessarily, but just things that I think would be improvements in the future. The first one is the menu. I think the menus can sometimes be a little bit confusing, especially when I first dropped into the game, and there is a tutorial, and admittedly I did skip it, but I have watched it since, and I still don't think it would have explained some things very well. But when I was like flicking through the menus, my character kept on changing their appearance constantly, and it took me a couple of minutes to figure out why it was doing that, and it was because I was just flicking through different classes that were locked, and for some reason every class looks different even though you can customize them fully, which I thought was a bit strange, because I just finished customizing my character completely the way I wanted, and then I was previewing the other classes, and it kept on changing my character's appearance. And yeah, I'm sure I was being slightly idiotic. I'm sure some people would be like, oh okay, well that's very obvious, but it's not when you think about the customization aspect of Wildlands, because it's always the key part is customization. Nobody wants to play a class with a predefined look, and so when you customize your character fully, you kind of expect it to carry across to all classes, but it doesn't. So when you're flicking through the classes, your character's just changing all the time, and you're a bit like, well, why are you doing this when I've just spent all this time customizing my character? So I think in terms of the improvement, it would make sense to unify the character creation and just keep your character as it is. Instead of having the appearance of a character tied to the class, just have it separate like it is with a single player game. It's just your character and you just customize it. I think that would be a better way of handling it, but that's a personal improvement or opinion, sorry. I also think the way that players get injured regardless of where they get shot is a bit strange. Like if you nail someone with a headshot, you don't expect them to roll over on their back and start rolling around in pain. You get hit with a headshot, you're gonna die. And it's very strange in Wildlands when you see people getting blown up and shot in the head, and they're just doing the same thing every time. There's no ragdoll, they just kind of fall over on their back, get over and roll around in pain, and they can be healed regardless. I'm not a fan of this system. One, because let's be honest, it's quite fun in games when you blow someone up and they go flying away or whatever, and sometimes it can remove the satisfaction of getting a kill when they do the same animation over and over again every time you shoot them, regardless of how you shoot them. And it kind of reminds you of like the old PS2 days when, you know, there was no such thing as ragdolls and characters would just roll over and do the same thing. And again, it's very petty, but it also leads into the fact that they can be healed every time. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I think it would have been a better situation to have it so that, you know, if you get headshotted, you can't be healed. If you've ever played any of the old Ghost Recon games like Advanced Warfighter, it was the same in that, where if you got shot too badly, you couldn't be revived, or if you got shot somewhere like in the leg, then you could be revived. Whereas in Wildlands, it doesn't matter. You can skydive, well, you can't skydive in multiplayer, but as a jokey example, you can fall as far as you want and you would just still become injured. You can be hit with a rocket launcher and you'll still be injured. Shot in the head, it doesn't matter. You can be injured and revived, and it just looks a bit out of place. And as well as that, the animations look really stupid sometimes, because the characters 9 times out of 10 will clip through the floor when they're injured. So they'll go down and like you're going to heal them and it'll just be a pair of legs sticking out of the floor. And it's just, again, going back to that lower quality bar that you wouldn't expect from a AAA game. And these are all petty improvements, but it's things like this that separate the good games from the bad games. If you look at a game like Grand Theft Auto 5, part of its success is the attention to detail, and everything is just so smooth in that game, and everything works well. I mean, they have got bugs, but when you go into it, it's clearly a AAA game. It's clearly had that attention to the game to make everything look right. And there are just so many things in Wildlands as a whole game, not just the PvP mode, that have that issue of quality and just not looking right. And it carries over into turn to Ghost War sometimes, and there are just certain times when you just stop and you're like, this just doesn't look right. Anyway guys, that is my first impressions on Wildlands. I've got a friend coming over tomorrow actually, and we're going to be playing tons of it, so hopefully I will get lots of footage for you guys, and I'll make another video on it over the weekend. I've got some more Siege content coming out soon. I'm not sure how my working week's going to be, so I will try and keep you guys updated via Twitter. If you want to go and follow me, it's GamingGains YT, link is in the description, and goddamn did I just slide that into there smoothly. But yeah, I will try and keep you guys updated so you know what's going on, but I will be getting back on the grind as soon as possible once I've got this busy working week or weeks out of the way. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I do hope you guys have an amazing weekend. Do subscribe and like the video if you enjoy it and the content that I make. It helps me out an absolute bunch. Anyway guys, I will see you in the next one.